Welcome to today's edition of Mental Health Matters. Today, we're going to be talking about obstacles. I have Cortez Alexander on the show with me today, and he's sharing his experience on how to overcome obstacles. Get you something to drink, get you a snack, and come on back and enjoy part two. Welcome back, nephew. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay.
Look, I'm thinking, speaking of obstacles, we had one, right? That's how it goes. That's how it goes.
Yeah, yeah, it does happen. It does happen. And,
Yeah.
and sometimes that will spur the moment just out of the blue. I'm like, all right, that's happened before. So I was like, all right, let me do my backup plan. So
Yes. Thank
that's
you.
what I'm on now.
Okay, nice. But I want you to get back into what you were saying because that was very informative to me because I didn't know that all these moving pieces was happening in your program. So I think we left off about we talked about the college students exchange portion of your program and then I asked you do they have like a mentor, a guide? And I think you was talking about how you people is with them everywhere they go when they're here. So let's pick up from there.
Yeah, yeah. So typically we do have people who are there with them just throughout the whole entire process of the program. And so with the university students, we oftentimes we will ask them like, hey, what are you going to do when you go home?
Right.
And they'll say, from what I've learned in the U.S., we've studied that every year there's a different theme, and sometimes the theme is peace building through art or taking action and through digital citizenship.
Hmm.
So what that means is that they may study and go to different communities and see how is this community achieving peace through art? How are they using art to kind of create peace in their community? Other times there may be, uh, I want to say, a kind of an exploration of how communities are using digital media to
Yeah.
create peace in their community or to create a sense of community using technology and media. And this is a big thing. This is a big thing for the young people who are coming here and then who go back home to implement programs in their community. And oftentimes they do. A lot of times there are projects that relate to kind of recycling and improving the physical aspects of their community. So they may plant trees or a community garden or even kind of create a space where they young people can dialogue and have tough conversations with each other. So those are some examples of things that they do when they return home. Um, and that's something that we like. It's something that we
Yeah.
like, and the State Department is pretty big on um, making sure that they learn while they're here, and also that we learn while they're here as well. And that the world becomes a little smaller,
Yeah.
and in a way, it comes to us just for a little bit.
Yeah. So do they stay like with in hotels or host families? Like who do they stay with?
Yeah, yeah. So for the high school programs, they stay with host families.
Okay.
For the university students, they stay in hotels, and then they'll
Okay.
visit American families during their stay here in the U.S.
Okay.
But that's typically it. But our host families are typically volunteers who have said, "Hey, I want to open up my home for this young person to see life in the U.S. And what we
Okay.
do and how we live in the U.S."
Wow. And so is there a screening process for volunteers before they can, get involved in that process?
Yeah. So we look to our host community partners who
Okay.
say, so we'll go to them and say, hey, Detroit. So we may have a host community partner in Detroit, and we may say, hey, Detroit, can you help us find host community like host families? And the host community partner in Detroit will say, hey, okay, I have these families who I've worked with in the past, and we've already have their background checks on file,
Right.
and they have oftentimes families request to host for our programs. They'll say like, hey, I'm free this summer. I want to be a host family this summer. Um, Other times when they're new, there is a background check process that does happen, and there's a site visit to their house to see
Right.
where will our young people be staying, and we
Yeah.
always ask if they have a bed and access to a closet and bathroom and facilities and stuff. But
Right.
that's a big thing. That's a big
Yeah.
thing. And for high schoolers who are away from their families and away from their friends, it's a big thing. And
Yeah.
so the parents oftentimes are, calling us and we're talking to them and saying like, hey, all right, your kid is in a safe environment, and we know because we've been there, we've checked out the home, and we've seen the spaces of where the young person will be sleeping.
Wow.
So you know, sometimes it's an uncomfortable conversation and an uncomfortable realization for the young person. But it's not an unsafe environment. So we always talk to them about the difference between being unsafe and
Yes.
uncomfortable.
Yes. Absolutely. That's super important. I know sometimes these kids miss their families. Have they ever expressed to like some of you guys about being homesick? And if so, like how do you guys help them deal with that?
Yeah. So oftentimes they are very homesick.
Yeah.
It's a thing because when you think about it, they are away from the family who they've grown up with all their lives, and
Yeah.
they're away from friends who they've grown up with all their lives. They're away from their best friend, and
Yeah.
then when they get attached to each other on the program, we split them up into smaller groups to go to different host communities. And so the friends that they've made on program may be in a different host community. And so that's that's a thing. And we're like, hey, this is how the program goes. We constantly ask for you to adjust and change as the program goes forward. And but homesickness does happen. So
Yeah.
when it does happen, we give them time and space to talk to their families. Um, and sometimes it may look like a participant is being withdrawn, and they may just take a step back, and they may just
Yeah.
sit back on their own. And we don't oftentimes like for our young people to be that withdrawn.
Right.
So what we do is just we'll watch them just in passing, and we'll talk to each other as a team and say, hey, this is let's take a look at this one um, participant, and let's follow them. So as a team, we have
Yeah.
more eyes on this participant, and we do it with everybody. So if we
Yeah.
look at them, we'll message each other like, okay, let's watch this kid on that one and that one, and so we're constantly doing that as a team and constantly communicating. And as we when we'll take some time and say like, okay, maybe I need to speak to their family just a bit more, because sometimes life happens at home. A relative may have passed away, or a mom or a father may be sick, or a sibling may have had some good news or some
Yeah.
bad news. If somebody may have gotten married and they wish that they were there to experience that with their family.
Yeah.
So it's those sorts of things that happen, and we always give them time and space to process their emotions, but also once they're done processing and ready to re-engage, we give them that space as well.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. Um, Talk to me a little bit about the success stories that come out of this. Like, do you feel like their experience with your program, obviously I don't know the answer to this, but enhanced their quality of life in some way?
That is a wonderful question, and I will certainly say yes on both ends. So
Yeah.
typically, uh, we have on one of our programs that's sponsored by the Department of Education and Cultural Affairs. We call it ECA for short. Um, so we have U.S. young people in that program, and uh, and and other young people on all of our other programs. So um, sometimes it's Algerians, sometimes it's Iraqis, sometimes it's kids from other countries, um, and we bring them together. So for our U.S. young people, um, this may be the first time that they're meeting young people from a different country. They may
Right.
be from a more rural community where they don't have access to meet um, people from a different country or people outside of their communities, because they write about the same things that
Right.
they want to learn more and see more and get out of their communities. Are Iraqi or Algerian or kids who may be from Ecuador or Costa Rica, from all of our other programs, they may come over and they may say, "Hey, um, I'm out of my community. I'm learning so much. I'm speaking in English. I'm
Yeah.
really, really pushing myself. I'm learning a lot about just life and leadership skills. One example of this is that with Iraq, we had a group of young people who came together to create um, something called the Baghdad City of Peace Carnival, and it was just a carnival that um, kind of was created out of a need to showcase something different about Baghdad, to have a different experience, and to bring people together, but also have a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
so um, the a lot of the organizers of that were alumni of our program, and so they came together to say, "Hey, this is what we want to do, and this is how we're going to do it." It started off with something grassroots, something small, and the community in Baghdad just said, "Okay, this was great. Let's continue to do it." And so every
Yeah.
year, people may volunteer their time, their
Yeah.
money, or their skills, and they say, "Okay, I can play this, or I can do that." And then just over the years, it's grown into a pretty big celebration for Baghdad. That's one example that I'm like, okay, this is a tangible example that we can see just outside of the U.S., but inside the U.S. A lot of our alumni who they're very intelligent young people, and they oftentimes become very intelligent adults.
Yeah.
And so they'll apply to study here in the U.S. And so they may get opportunities to study at some of our top universities. And one of an alumni of one of our programs, he had got accepted to MIT, and so he found himself traveling 3,000 miles to study at MIT.
Yeah. Wow.
And I know because I visited him at MIT, and he showed me just all the institution and just everything that they love at the school. But I was extremely proud of him because I'm like, you have uh, moved and traverse thousands of miles to get here,
Yeah.
and it's a thing. And I think that we're a better country for having young people who are very aspirational, and we're able to kind of help fuel their aspirations.
Yeah. What's the difference between the youth and the college students' approach with working this program to their benefit? Like, what do you see the different approaches to the different age group with making sure the
Yeah,
program work for them?
yeah. I think from my perspective, I think that the university students they take it as an opportunity to kind of enter their um, adult working lives or professional lives. They're like, okay, I would have got this experience, and I can take this and go right into the workforce, or I
Yeah.
can take this and go right into the next phase of my life. So because
Yeah.
they're a bit more mature and ready to start life, I think they use it as a pretty big stepping stone for what they want to do for the rest of their lives.
Wow.
Um, and for high schoolers, they oftentimes look at it as an aspirational opportunity. So it may be seen as an opportunity where they're like, okay, I can use this to go to the next phase of my life, which is oftentimes university. Sometimes, if they don't do universities, they may say, hey, I know I like to travel because I've traveled to the US, and so let me figure out a way so I can travel more. And
Yeah.
they may find themselves, working in other countries um, um, that that isn't their home. And I say
Yeah.
that because with this, I guess, emphasis on uh, admitting people from different backgrounds and different needs of of different countries. Um, you get different ideas, and so sometimes
Right.
young people may not be able to see how far their life can go,
Yeah.
or the opportunities that exist beyond their immediate community. And so I remember one person, he told me, he was like, I don't know how I'll be able to do something like this again,
Yeah.
because I'm gonna go back home to my small community, and I can't see anything beyond that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, you're here and you've made it here. And this is just only the beginning of where you'll go.
Yeah.
And so years later, he found himself just you know traveling and working in another country.
Yeah.
Um, and it's these sorts of experiences that we have, and that young people do have. And on our end, on the U.S. side, sometimes young people say, "Hey, I now know I like either this language
Hmm.
or this field," and they may transform that experience and change and use that experience to transform their lives and say, "Hey, this is what I want to study. This is what I want to do," and
Yeah.
we help them with that.
Yeah. I have a friend who is from Tahiti. He speaks French fluently. Didn't even know he speaks French. I mean, he sounds so Americanized. He came over here 4 years ago on a basketball scholarship. And he stayed in Idaho, he stayed in Kansas, then he ended up, you know, in Sacramento. And so when he was kind of sharing his story with me, he was telling me like he does not want to go back now. So he's in his senior year of college, and now he's working on being an American citizen. He was telling me how like it's a lengthy process, it's stressful, but he do not want to go back to Tahiti. And I thought that was interesting. So I was, a lot of times I asked him different questions about the culture and what he liked in America opposed to being in Tahiti. And it's just interesting how you get these folks from these other countries, which I think is a good thing. And when they come over here and they get a chance to experience the American culture and what we have to offer them, and they want to take full advantage of that. So kudos to your team, what y'all doing. Um, if a person is selected for your program and they come here, um, is that do they only get one chance, or can they, you know, interview again and potentially get selected again, or like how does that work?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. Uh, I'm very critical about people applying and go doing it more than once.
Okay,
And so we oftentimes look for people. We always do because there are always people applying. We don't look for people who have done this experience before because if
okay,
they have, we're like, hey, you've done this experience before, so we're not going to select you. And they know this when they apply, like, hey, you've been given this chance already. So sometimes we have high schoolers when they go to university say, hey, I want to apply for the university program.
yeah,
But even then, we're like, no, you've done this already. We're not going to allow you to do it again. And then with university students, they like to become adult mentors. We'll say no to that as well because we're
yeah,
like, you've already done this, and we don't want to, repeat this experience again. Um, and but we do look for them to say, hey, help our alumni in this new cohort. So
yeah,
when they come back home, help them adjust to being back home and to relate their experiences to y'all community. Help them with their projects, and help them just utilize this opportunity, um, as you did when you returned home.
yeah.
So
Uh,
that's how we do it.
yeah, no, I like that. I like that. So when they do return home, you do or people do stay in contact with them for a certain length of time?
Yeah, so typically we would pretty much track them as they complete their community service projects. It's and we have meetings with them and say like, hey, okay, how are things going? What are you experiencing back home that may be a challenge, or because sometimes it may be my friends don't think I can complete this project, or my teacher may have said they won't help me with this project, um, or it can be a myriad of different reasons. And so what happens is that we talk with them to try and develop solutions and say like, okay, how can we adjust and change your project so you're not encountering this obstacle anymore?
Yeah.
And sometimes it may just mean that they may have to change the target market for their particular project. But we do keep track with them when they return home, and then at the end of the program, we have like a culmination meeting to say, hey, this is what everybody has done and completed, and then it's technically the end of the program for 'em.
Yeah. So they're here, they're in America like for just what, 8 weeks of summer or what?
No, usually just the summer. So
Okay.
typically it's 4 weeks for them,
Okay.
and that's typically the run of the meal for the program. But it's a fully packed uh summer summer for them because we start from early in the morning and we go all the way into the evening. So
Okay.
and this is every day for 4 weeks, with the exceptions of the weekends. They're engaging in workshops. They're meeting with different speakers, meeting with different community leaders, learning about each other. Just just all day. So it's a fully packed summer for
Okay. And when they go back home, have you guys how can I phrase it? So when they go back home, have you heard of them having a hard time being acclimated back into their original culture?
them. Yeah, I think we call it post program slump, which
Okay.
is basically it's kind of like a feeling of sadness once they return home.
Yeah.
Um, For some, for me, it may be a few who are like, I'm ready to be back home. So for those
Yeah.
who are like, all right, you're back home, so let's be
Yeah.
happy about that. But for a lot of our young people, they experience, so they have a fully packed summer. You know,
Hmm.
they're with young people. Every need of theirs is met. They're having fun and learning about each other every single day,
Yeah.
and for a whole month. And
Yeah.
everything is new. People are new. The environment is new. It's you're going here, you're flying there, and you just have such a a very extreme positive outlook on life and the endless possibilities that exist in life. And and then you find yourself back at the end. You're at the end of the travel portion of the program, and you're back home, and you're like,
Yeah.
wow, how do I begin to explain all that I've experienced to my friends and my family, my teachers and my school community? How do I begin to do that?
Yeah.
And sometimes words just don't do justice for what they experience. But oftentimes we tell them is don't be in a rush to
Yeah.
explain to people what you've experienced and how the summer has gone because they won't be able to experience it. But what you can do is um, kind of like engage with them in the process, you know, show them pictures, show them things when you're ready. Because
Yeah.
you may not be ready on the first day. You know, your parents are just so happy to have you back home and, you know, just have you with them, you know,
Yeah.
that they won't always be able to take into account that everything you've just experienced. You can try, but it may not you know, relate, you know, relay over the same way. So
Yeah.
we tell them to take their time with that.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. You have also been in a similar program yourself where
Yeah,
you went to stay with a host family. Talk a little bit about that and your experience. Because I know you said you were selected out of so many people, and
yeah.
talk about that.
I when when I stayed with a host family, I was in Morocco. I had um uh two host community experiences. One was in Jordan, the
Okay.
other was in Morocco. So I'll ask you which one do you want me to talk about?
I'm gonna let you pick, but I want the viewers to hear your experience from the very beginning. What was the application process like? How old were you? Why
Okay.
did you want to do it? I'm throwing a lot
Okay.
at you.
Gotcha. So for me, I was in uh, college when I went to Morocco on an exchange program, also funded by the State Department. But this was through something called the Critical Language Scholarship, which teaches young American university students to learn um, languages that the government deems critical languages. So that could be Arabic, Chinese, Azerbaijani, Hindi, Russian, a myriad of different languages. And mine was Arabic. So
Yeah.
at first I was on a wait list. They put me on a wait list to say, hey, okay, let's see what happens. And then somebody had dropped out of the program, and so
Yeah.
I got their spot.
Yeah.
So there were thousands of people who applied to that, and I was on a wait list for that. So I was happy to go. I was like, all right, I'll take it. I'll take it and run with it.
Yeah.
So um, so in Morocco, we were there for 2 months. So the first month was for me inside of the dorm, and then the second month was with a host community. I mean, host family. So the host family I had, they were really nice. I had a really cool host brother, and then uh, the family was something the I guess familiar nature of Morocco was something that was kind of new to me. Uh, how I grew up, you know, my family was like, okay, you know, you want to go somewhere, go ahead, you know, you're good at.
Yeah.
Whereas with my Moroccan host family, they were very close knit and they were very together, and they always had a meal for me every day when I came home from class. They're like, okay. dinner is here. We eat dinner as a family, and so that was something that I really really loved because um, the host are we call him my host dad. So my host dad
Yeah.
always had some stories for me, and oftentimes it would be mixing Arabic, French, and English, and then the local dialect of Morocco is Darija, so it would be mixing Darija in there as well. And yeah, it was a wonderful experience because they opened up their home to us. That said,
Right.
we want young Americans to learn about what life is like in
Yeah.
Morocco and how we are a family in Morocco. And one thing that I loved about Morocco is that you can see how the family in religion just kind of plays a bigger role in in the family. So
Yeah.
oftentimes they go to pray or they do these things as a family. So it was a great experience, and I think more of us in the U.S. we should experience what life is like outside of the U.S. But I
Right.
loved it. I loved it.
That's awesome. This is my last question. We're out of time.
Hmm.
What are some obstacles or challenges that you face with this experience while being in Morocco?
Oh, that's a great question. So sometimes people don't always perceive me as American. So I'm like, well, I am, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they're like, what country are you from in Africa? Are you Nigerian? Are you Senegalese? Are you from are you Ghanaian? And I'm like, no, African
Mm.
Americans, we don't necessarily have that that knowledge of where we're from.
Right.
However, be that as it may, this is the community and culture uh, we've built in the U.S. So I try to explain all of that in Arabic, which I didn't have the vocabulary for. So I'm like, okay, I can explain this in pieces, and so
Yeah.
that's kind of how I how I do it. But also for I'm glad when it happens because it kind of challenges people's perspectives on what it means to be an American. Because I'm like, you know, Americans, we all come in different shapes, colors, and sizes. So
Yeah.
it's no problem. And
Yeah.
then another, I would say, big obstacle is just the language piece itself, because it was a intensive Arabic program, so you have to study all day, every day, and you have to use the language. So you pretty much sign and say, "Hey, I agree to speak in Arabic all the time," and
Yeah.
that was a piece because it's frustrating when you want to say something and you know how to express yourself in English,
Yeah.
but you don't yet have the vocabulary and and the graph of the language to express that in Arabic.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
those two I would say were the two biggest ones.
Okay. Well, nephew, thank you so much for taking the time out. This was a very, very, very informative. It was a good conversation. I told you, don't worry about it. We ain't gonna, we're gonna make it happen. So uh
Okay. Okay.
I learned a lot from you today because I mean I know bits and pieces you would kind of tell me about what you do, but I didn't know the depth of what you guys do, the process, and how many people hands is in a pot to make sure that these people are selected and come here and have the best experience here in America. So thank you so much, man, for taking the time out of your Saturday, and I'm gonna close us out. Okay,
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
you're welcome. That's it for this edition of Mental Health Matters. If you enjoyed this show, if you would like to be a guest on our show, or if you would like a DVD copy of this show, please dial 916-366-4600. Thank you.